I'm going to need another moment here to get myself together. Until about 4 minutes ago, I was on a fundraising broadcast with Hollyhock in Canada. There's a beautiful building there. It's a cob structure, like a cob structure. 25 years old or so. That I was there when it was just brand new. And the roof is leaking, so they need a $50,000 fundraise. And it was great to be part of it. And now, I got to find something here. Close. That's not it. Where's the other document? Here it is. I don't see Tim. Are you here, Tim? I think not. Well, first off, station identification. This is the Buddha Broadcasting Network on the 7th of March, 2021. I am Robert Beatty, or so I think. A little bit excessively believe that. And I'm coming to you from my backyard in Portland, Oregon. This is a broadcast of the Portland Insight Meditation Community. And those of you on Facebook and YouTube, if you would like to, you could join us on Zoom. The way to do that is go to robertbeatty.com. That's Beatty. And find the link. That'll get you here. Jim, I just co-hosted you. You catch it? Good. All right. I invite you to join me in this practice that I always do when I find a bunch of living postage stamps on my screen. I remember thinking how cool it was in the Harry Potter movies that the paintings would move. And here we have actual living human beings, a lot of them in a very compact space. And let's connect with that part of ourselves that really wants to be happy, that really longs to be loved and loving and safe as humans can be. And let's reflect upon how difficult our lives have been. And they have been difficult, haven't they? And there's more to come. There's also more love and compassion and joy to come. But remembering this, how can we do anything but love each other? Ourselves too. So I invite you to find a picture or two. Wish this person well. What would your blessing be for this person? Right? May you really wake up to the suffering caused by greed, hatred, and ignorance. May you find generosity to be one of your major predilections in life. Excuse me, I'll be right back. I have a dog barking at my door. Come on. Good boy. Yes. Hi. All right. There. Can't focus with him there whining. So find another face. Maybe someone you've never noticed before. Maybe someone you know pretty well. Wish them well. May your relationships go well. May you be honest with yourself. May your meditation seat call loudly to you. When I checked my email this morning, there was an email from Tim Acott. He's the man with the mellifluous voice I often point out when he speaks. He's a bassist. He wields a mean bass. And it's called For a While. This is a test. This is not good. All right. I'm going to... Now, I just started to get anxious. Why get anxious? What's the point? Well, it's not very professional to have it not work very well. Well, it is kind of loving to see if you can get it to work for people. 1, 2, 3. So Scarlet, 2I2. All right. So this is a beautiful moment for a teaching from Ruth Denison. Are you waiting? Why wait? Just be here. We're not going to do anything other than sit here anyway.
Something just changed for the better.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Are they saying it's better now? Okay.
It's working.
I logged into YouTube, Robert, and I can hear you now.
All right. Okay, there it is. Enough. It's very weird that that's working, but I think I'll leave it. Oh. Well, I want to do one other thing to check something. I'm getting to be fairly fluent with the... Which camera is that? Which is the sound? Logitech Brio 2. Ah, okay. So I'm going to do this. Logitech sound audio capture. This is a test. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, if they've got it, I'm going to call it good. Still good, David? Dave Meyer?
Yeah, you're there.
All right, I'm going to... There. Now that was an interesting wandering mind, wasn't it? Or boring, or irritating, or humorous, or whatever the heck we do with it. I'm going to call it good. Still... All right. Jim, wave at me if something's not right, okay? Okay, can you hear me? Yes. Let us drop immediately into the 7th jhana. Here we go. Plop. Let us drop immediately into this moment. This is the only time ever that we're going to live this moment. It could be a moment of great ease. Our lives could be flowing on smoothly. Our projects could be maturing beautifully. Or it could be a moment of a lot of anxiety. It could be a moment of fear or dread. Whatever the case, it is this moment. And our old friend, the body, sits here and breathes. So please come home to this body. Imagine this. It is one of a kind, ever. In billions of years of this universe, there's never been another body like this one. Totally unique. And the same with the personality that inhabits this body. One of a kind. And something really remarkable is happening here. There is awareness there is consciousness. So let us notice the sensations that exist in this body that co-arise with consciousness. There's the pressure of the body where it touches the chair or the floor or the cushion. It's alive. And there's knowing it. How do you do that, knowing it? I have no idea. But it exists. There's the life in the face and the eyes, the forehead, the tongue, the lips. And there's knowing it. And there's the coming and going of the breath, the great metronome of our lives. Each breath has a beginning. Let's embrace that beginning. Each breath has a time of arising, of rising. Let's embrace that. There's the time of reaching fullness. And then a change of direction and then declining. And then there's an ending. And then there's another birth, another breath. There may well be thoughts. The thoughts could be of desire, of wanting something, or of not wanting something, disliking, resisting. Or there could be just restlessness and agitation, a state with busy thoughts, with worry, with planning. What shall I say in that conversation that I need to have this afternoon? Or I wish I hadn't said that thing this morning or last week or 20 years ago. Or the mind could be in sloth and torpor, dullness, too little energy. Or there could be skeptical doubt, which would take us away from the practice. And we invoke with our intention of awakeness. We invoke mindfulness. We invoke this moment of being present with the body, breathing, or whatever else is happening. Noticing how when the mind wanders, how remarkably absorbing it can be. How convincing. And then when mindfulness winks into being, noticing how dreamlike that wandering mind of a moment before was or is. It seems like being awake is actually possible. At first we touch it, we inhabit it for a few moments. And over time it grows so that there are more moments of simply being awake, noticing the breath coming and going, noticing some thought arising and thinking itself into being. At the very heart of the practice is kindness. Kindness we could call love, and the aspiration. I intend to head in the direction in my life and in this moment where there's room for everything, particularly in myself. What if I gave up the struggle for self-improvement and just accepted this moment exactly as it is? The first thing the Buddha taught was dukkha, unsatisfactoriness, stress, difficulty. And there is a great deal of that in life. Even the subtle longing in this moment to be different. Hence the aspiration, that strange word, I intend. Whenever I'm hurting, no matter how subtle, no matter how gross, no matter how vast my suffering is, I intend to hold it in sweet compassion. Sweet, loving compassion. holding the pain of resentment and anger and hatred in sweet compassion. Coming home to each breath, it has its beginning. It's as real as anything can be. Let us remember to notice the mood. It's a little less direct than observing the body, but mood can be quite tangible. Though we tend to not experience it as something to observe because we tend to think we are the mood. Happy, sad, despairing, joyous, confident, doubting. Dull, energetic. in order to take our practice deeper, we practice sitting still. When the various restless impulses come along, we can notice them as a desire or a disliking. And then we can just sit through it. Time and again we discover that we don't have to respond to every stimulus that comes in from the outer world or the inner world. Each breath is an invitation to be here. To be here right now. To notice this arising. This passing of this breath now. And this makes it possible, this stability with the breath, makes everything else visible. Perhaps the mind has fallen into quietness. There's absolutely no reason not to enjoy the pleasure of a concentrated mind. With a concentrated mind, we can go deeper and deeper into the objects that arise. We can know the breath more and more intimately. Or when thoughts arise, the momentary concentration can be extremely potent. And the thoughts can seem like fireworks or a comet across a shooting star. Just a thought thinking itself. Or maybe the mind is quite restless and the practice is really to just bear with and to notice with great loving compassion how unpleasant it is to have a worrying mind, or an angry mind, or a blaming mind, or a self-hating mind. And perhaps we might on the in-breath add the great mantra, I love you, with your name at the end. Or perhaps it's, may I be happy. And then on the out-breath, we could include a particular person, or a group of people, or all beings. It's a lovely tranquilizing mantra. May I be happy. May all beings be happy. May I be truly, deeply happy. May this be true for my loved ones and friends. May I be free from fear and danger, the identification with pain. May this be true for all beings. May I live with ease and grace. May all beings live with ease and grace. May I remember in this very lifetime my true great nature. May this be true for all beings. And please now bringing life, bringing awareness into the entirety of the body, from the feet to the legs to the torso, to the hands and arms, to the neck, to the face, to the eyes. Really experience the eyes from the inside, not as seeing organs, but as sensations. And now noticing in mind the intention to let the eyes open, or to do the work of lifting the eyelids, and then letting that happen. And then there's seeing. Seeing, and once again, there's these beautiful people. It's such a great reflex to develop Oh, people. Some of our minds would normally see people and find things wrong, or see people and find something to be attracted to. It's just conditioning, just the personality, person-nality. I find this, my quote, personality rather tedious at times. Even boring. Jeez. We're going to run this one again. I guess we are. So seeing each other, taking delight in each other, taking delight in one person. Well, having just come from my Hollyhock meeting, I think I might say just a little something about generosity. I found a cool description this morning. I think I can take these off now. The guy next door runs this diesel engine and it makes the whole neighborhood thud. But how would this be? I'm gonna go incognito here, which is, it's actually quite interesting because the screen completely disappears because they're polarizing lenses. But that's not the point of this demonstration. You see these kind of flashy blue glasses? Notice what happens inside you when I do this. They're mine. They're mine and you can't have them. So I laugh, but that's part of us, isn't it? It's mine and I'm not going to share. We have to teach our kids to share. So what if instead of that it was, they're mine, but if you really need them, they're yours. Or we could have them in some central place and whoever needs them can wear them. This is a rather dangerous thing to say, of course, because it's socialist, even communist, but we won't go there. But what a relief it is to be able to say, oh, I can share. I don't have to hold on to everything. In fact, the more that I share, the more wealthy I feel. And actually, I got some very interesting feedback from my kids a long time ago now. Each of them, at a certain point, when they started going out to visit other people, there's one other piece of this. I have had a hot tub. I've had 200 gallons of hot water in my backyard since my son was 4. And I get into it, and I've said to the kids when they were little, we are so wealthy. We are at the top of the heap. We have a hot tub. Can you imagine that? And, you know, I've been in places where people have never been in warm water in their life. Cold places like Tibet. And anyway, both kids came home from some visit to some other friends and said, Dad, we're not rich. I visited this house and they have, you know, they have this and they have that. But the truth is, we are very wealthy. We have central heating. Imagine that. And we eat whatever we want and whenever we want to eat, too much. And so when we practice generosity, we experience ourselves as having extra. And so then we actually feel more and more content with what we have. So that's the preamble to inviting you. If you're not already a contributor to PIMC, today's the day. You could go to the website and reflect on it and reflect upon how these broadcasts have changed your life. And I've got to get my glasses. I can't really see you. I see blurry little boxes. Oh, there you are. And ideally, if you'll make a monthly contribution, then it contributes even when you're not here. So that's a way to participate in PIMC and to keep this wonderful experiment that we're doing going, and keeping everything working so new people can come and find the riches of the Dharma. Anything I'm missing, Jim, that should be announced? There's all the other teachers at PIMC. Jim is squinting at the calendar. I don't hear you. Jeez.
I think I'm on.
Okay. I can hear you fine. Yeah, the sound is rather weird, but please take it for some. You're capable of movement meditation again today. So let's do that, and then please bring your questions to the Dharma talk. This is a test. 1, 2, 3, 4. I hope those of you on Facebook are getting adequate sound. It's pretty low, but I think it's enough, and I'm not going to mess with it. Scarlet 2I2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Huh. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a test. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a test. 1, 2, 3, 4. A much better looking sound. I think I'm going to leave it there. Thank you, Jim. Can you hear me? Yay. Hello, friends on YouTube and Facebook. It looks like you've got a much better sound signal now. Hey, Eric. Will you send me your address, please? Eric and Christopher, it's you I'm speaking to. Can you send me your mailing address? Okay, thank you. Well, friends, I'm torn this morning. I've been very engrossed in my own practice recently in the second foundation of mindfulness, feeling the pleasant, unpleasant, and indeterminate experiences that we have at the sense doors. But I'm tempted to ask for this morning, what are your questions? What's happening in your practice that you might like to ask about or speak about? Go ahead. Hello, Sherry. Mm-hmm. I think Denise has the answer here. She said, a music teacher told me practice makes permanent. Well, go ahead. Uh-huh. There's a lot of emphasis in the Buddha's teachings on intention. What is my intention? And what is my intention? If I go back to the Eightfold Path, the first step of the Eightfold Path is wise understanding. And it's proposed that we come to understand the world through the lens of the Four Noble Truths. That when I'm suffering, there's a cause of that suffering, and it's within me. And it has to do with the mind wants something different than it has right now. And then through using the Eightfold Path to practice in developing meditation, I can discover that I, in fact, can suffer less and less by becoming aware of that craving of the mind for things to be a certain way. So that's one of the big understandings. Then there's the understanding of the law of karma, that actions have their results. You can get the connection right away with that in forming habits. And then the three characteristics of existence, that everything is impermanent, and that there is that anything we experience through the sense doors is impermanent and therefore not ultimately satisfying. And then the really big and beautiful one, which is that the self, this experience of self, is actually a phantom. So I'm just laying that out as kind of a groundwork. Then the second aspect of the Eightfold Path, the second step of the Eightfold Path, has to do with wise intention, wise aspiration, wise thought. So I've got a new worldview that I'm trying on, right? The worldview that we've been raised in is capitalist, consumerist materialism, which makes a bold and false promise, which is that you can be happy if you have enough stuff. Avoid the unpleasant, go for the pleasant, and be happy, finally. But then the rubber meets the road. Well, how am I going to operationalize this new understanding, this view of the world that I have? And the Buddha suggested that it's how we think, how we aspire, how we intend, that's what we live into over time. And so what are my intentions? Are they greed, hatred, to try to be happy through greed, hatred, and ignorance, which is the roots of suffering? Through putting myself first all the time? Or shall I practice some renunciation, some willingness not to go for what I want, through generosity, through compassion, through wisdom? And so that then becomes the aspiration, which is at the root of the creation of any new habit. And it's that my shorthand for it is I want to be a Buddha when I grow up. And I don't think the Buddha read the news and checked Facebook while eating breakfast. I think it was before his time, but also he would have experienced the suffering of that. The emptiness of that. There's a grasping. It's like, if I just get some more news, or just see if somebody, I'll feel complete if someone commented on the photo that I put on Facebook. And it lasts that long. So, that said, we then have, in the Eightfold Path, we have skillful speech, using speech as skillfully as we can, and then of our various actions as skillfully as we can. And then then we move into the meditative dimension, which is, well, I want to this is a question, really. Is a central aspiration, and I know the answer to this, in your life, I think central aspirations are to be kind, to be generous, to be awake, and to grow in mindfulness and concentration. I'm 100% sure that's true for you. And so, how do you make that happen? Well, there's an aspiration and intention, and then intentional practices. I'm going to be mindful whenever I can. And we plant that seed, and we plant that seed, and we plant that seed, and we plant that seed. And lo and behold, we start being more mindful. because we're doing it more. Similarly, concentration. How many tens of thousands of times do you suppose you have come back to your breath in these years of practice? A lot. And I would guess that, I'm sure, that the tendency toward awakening and then remembering to come back to the breath is way stronger than it was when we first met. So that habit has become more of a faculty or a capacity, more of your personality, more of your structure, really, than it would have been if you'd been not doing that. So then there's, at the strategic level, one of the most fun things I ever did around reminding myself to be mindful was I bought 100 stars. You know those stars you can get for, we used to get them in school, Catholic school. You get a star. It's funny, the tremendous motivator to get a little gold star. But you can actually go to you can go to a stationery store and buy them or get them online. And then, then I put them around my house and like right beside the light switch. So reminding me when I'm turning out the light switch, be aware of reaching up. And the door on the way into the pots and pans. This was slightly irritating for my life partner, who would rather we don't have gold stars everywhere, but I did it for a while. And I also did this at PIMC, and some of them are still there, actually. It's quite interesting, the ones that have persisted. But they're reminders. Oh, yeah, I intend to be aware. Oh, and I've been brushing my teeth and shaving mindfully for over 40 years now. That when the toothbrush comes out, it's time to practice. When the razor comes out, it's time to practice. That this is, and sometimes I don't succeed very much. Sometimes I'm really unconscious. But then halfway through brushing my teeth, I'll remember, oh, right, I meant to do this intentionally. There's a place here in the front inside that I simply don't brush well. It's very weird. I get cavities there, and the dentist every time says, you should brush here better. So it's all about forming an intention. And you, a long time ago, made the intention to wake up. And so there's these micro things, like you could, and you spotted it. Something happened when you were having breakfast looking at the news and your computer, your laptop. Something woke up and went, whoa, wait a minute. Oh, right. I intend to be awake for my breakfast like I was on the weekend. So the weekend was a kind of intervention that happened to give you a quality of consciousness that then illuminated the fact that you weren't there this morning or whenever that was. And so it's all about setting the course. I really want to wake up. And that will involve some renunciation, which is I'm not going to use I'm not going to bring the computer to the table. I'm very aware of that in myself, the impulse to be doing something electronic while eating. And we have a rule that we're not allowed, when there's other people around, we're not allowed to bring phones to the table. Boy, that was and still remains hard with the kids, because all it takes is one little beep and, I just need to check this thing. Or the other really slippery one is, let's look that up. We're always busy doing research. And so is that making sense? It's all about intention. And you could write down your intention. You could have do you have a mission statement for your life? You might. You might write a mission statement. What is it? What is it, and who do you want to become in this lifetime? Because that having a mission statement clarifies. It's like a compass heading. If I want to go through the woods and I'm on Quadra and I want to get to this particular other place, I look on the map and I set my compass, and then I follow the compass through the woods and over the river and through the woods. If we have a mission statement for our life, then we correct. We come back. It's like, oh, wait, look what I'm doing. That's not what I intended to do. Because the old habits come in and they take us way off course. So, and the other thing I want to say is have mercy. Right? Changing significant habits require, what's the word? It precipitates resistance and grief. I don't want to do this. I like this. I like going unconscious when I eat. Thank you very much. Well, actually, I have a higher aspiration, which is I intend to be conscious when I eat. And not just for that, but because it strengthens that capacity of mindfulness. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so then maybe it's one meal a day that you eat without that. And be merciful. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Sherry. Mm-hmm. That, I'm not sure if that makes me think of feeling, the practice of mindfulness of feeling, which is where I was thinking I would go this morning. So I'm going to speak to that a little bit. If there are, let's use the solitaire as an example. And of course, nothing wrong with playing some solitaire, but there's a way sometimes we can use these adaptive mechanisms into excess. So let's say there's something like solitaire that you're trying to cut back on, and it could be getting stoned, or it could be shopping, it could be any number of things. So then, the more mindful we become, if we start paying attention at all the sense doors to the feeling tone when a visual object comes into view. Is it pleasant, unpleasant, or not determined? Is it indeterminate or neutralish? With a sound object, is it pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? And the same with olfactory and taste and touch, proprioception, and also with mind objects. Now, this can sound really clunky, and it is at first, perhaps, but we're driven by liking and disliking. And so if we can begin to notice the liking and disliking, the pushing and pulling, we can then start intervening in a circumstance like, here I am, I'm doing that which I know I want to be doing, and then I really want to turn on the TV, or I really want to go to do some solitaire. I want to get out of here, sort of. If we pause then and notice what's the feeling tone of the moment, what's the feeling tone of this mood, chances are it will be either neutral and therefore we're sort of bored, or unpleasant and therefore we're being repelled. And there's a memory of being in the solitaire game or in whatever else where I'm not suffering the same way. And so in order to become more articulate in our responding or not responding to the feeling tone of mental states, sitting in meditation and bearing with, for instance, there's a very common question that people come to meditation interviews with on retreat. And they say, I'm bored. This is really boring. And there's some very useful responses one can give. Well, actually, you weren't bored yesterday. In fact, yesterday you were fascinated by the breath or whatever. So why not see if there's a way you can interest yourself in the breath? And there's another response which is really helpful and essential at some point, which is, okay, so you're bored. How interested can you get in boredom? Because boredom itself is a very interesting state. What's happening that there's this lack of interest and a sort of wanting to go unconscious, or I want stimulation, I want to get out of here, I want to... and there's a 30 years ago, I read a reply from Chogyam Trungpa, I think, to someone who said he was bored, and he said, well, just die into the boredom. Just suffer boredom until you die. And something changes. It's the same with an itch. There's a place that many, many people reach on retreat where they could be sitting still for significant periods of time, except there's an itch. And the itch gets really virulent. It gets awful. And so the answer there is, well, okay, take the itch and the disliking of the itch, the unpleasantness of the itch, take that as your meditation object and don't move. And sometimes the itch will reach a fever pitch. There's a nice little rhyme. The itch will reach a fever pitch. And then one is observing it as dukkha, as unpleasantness, and then you start to notice, oh, it's a disliking of this that's the problem, and then suddenly the suffering will be gone. And then it'll come back, and then it'll be gone. Or maybe it's gone. Sometimes one reaches, with something like an itch, one reaches the point that itching is just not a problem anymore in meditation. But we can make a simple itch into quite a torture if we're not willing to accept it. So it's that feeling tone of moods, pleasant, unpleasant, or indeterminate, which is really very liberating in order if we can begin to practice with that. I think I talked about this not so long ago on a Sunday morning. There's a green sign about 3 feet long and 1.5 feet high. A beautiful green with a gold or yellow lettering. The top of it is written in Thai and the bottom is in English. It's in the parking lot at Wat Pah Nanachat in Thailand, the monastery for Westerners, for foreigners. And it says in English, it says, and it's a quote from Ajahn Chah, if you haven't begun to practice with your feelings, you haven't begun to practice. So observing liking and disliking and discovering that we don't have to follow every liking and we don't have to push away every disliking. We can actually recognize them as just conditioned forces And then we can let pleasure and pain be much more acceptable. Does that make sense, David? Relevant to what you were saying? Yeah. Mm-hmm. One of the, I have a silly gesture here. Other things are quick too. Watch this one. I feel better. That was quick. It's true that all drugs of abuse are fast acting. Nobody abuses antihistamines. Well, maybe, but nobody abuses antidepressants. If they do something, they don't do it very quickly. But here's a little beautiful factoid. I worked in drug and alcohol treatment for several years. That for substances that one inhales, the inside the lungs there are these little cup-shaped things, the alveoli, I think they're called. If you were to take the alveoli in your lungs and flatten them all out, they would be the size of a basketball court. Which means when you go in, the oxygen, all those oxygen molecules, they're spread over something the size of a basketball court, and the carbon dioxide is coming out on surfaces that big. And so if you are inhaling a substance which alters consciousness, it hits fast. Because from the lung into the brain, and we're done. It's very remarkable. So, same with solitaire. Sorry to beat up on your solitaire game, David, but checking the news or checking the texting. It's all very quick. And it's the meditator who learns how to put that stuff aside for a while or with some regularity and to just be present. But in order to just be present, we have to be willing to accept the push and the pull, the liking and disliking. And it can be really powerful. Aha. Thank you. I just made a realization that because of this weird feedback situation, those of you you're probably left already, that there is no sound on Facebook and YouTube from the people who are speaking. I'll leave it running in case you want to watch a one-sided conversation. Thank you, Joan. Hello, Steffi. If you say 3 Our Fathers and 3 Hail Marys and promise you will never do this again, you will be okay. I don't know if you have a Catholic background, but so you do. So there you are. In your case, it would be 10 Hail Marys and 10 Our Fathers, and and make a large contribution in the donation box on the way out. So, whoa. All right. That's funny. So, oh, of a voice. Hi, Jonas. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is true for receiving a text. We also release dopamine as when we meditate. Responding, Steffi, to your question, why don't you try this? Do you use cards to play solitaire, or do you do it on the computer? Okay. So here I am sitting in front of my array of cards. Maybe close your eyes for 30 seconds. Be aware of breathing. And make the intention, I am going to notice every time I click my mouse, or every time I move my mouse. And then be aware of scanning the array of cards and notice the moment of, oh, there's a red 6 and a black 7. And then maybe there's some strategy you're going to imply. I don't want to move that yet. And then there's the moment, oh, there's an ace. That's really handy. That's good. So notice the happiness of that. And pause between moves. So rather than going into a trance in which there's no mindfulness, bring mindfulness into the solitaire. And so you can do that with doing dishes. We can do that. Now, it'll slow down the game. And you couldn't do this while multitasking. But if you're going to play solitaire, if your deep aspiration is to wake up, then our practice is to do everything and anything and everything that we do, to do it in such a way that we're cultivating mindfulness and concentration. So there's no reason not to, but it would not be the escape that perhaps that you're looking for, but it might become really interesting. Not just the interesting of winning the game or not, but of noticing the feelings that arise, the pleasant. You count your 3 cards and you turn it over, and there's nothing you can use. There will be a little bit of unpleasant feeling. A little disappointment. I just had a memory. It's so interesting the way the mind works. I did a month of meditation in Santa Cruz a long time ago, and I was going to hitchhike to Wyoming. And I went out and my teacher said, "Don't go. It's the wrong time. This is really the wrong time to leave the retreat." But I had reasons to go, and so I got out on the highway, And I was so mindful. And a car would come along, and I'd be aware of intending to move, and then taking my hand up, and then the car would go by and not pick me up, and I would feel this despair, this loss. It was like, whoa, this is a bit intense. And I wound up going back to the retreat center rather than going on my journey, and spent another month in meditation. Because every time we don't get what we want, there is a disappointment to it. The feeling tone is there in all the time. And so playing solitaire could be a very interesting meditation on liking and disliking, and on the attachment to success. Is that making sense, Steffi? And using cards might be more interesting. Because then there's all the mechanical process of shuffling and laying out the deck and all that kind of stuff. But we would be curious also of what's happening in the psycho-emotional mindful sphere, as well as what's happening in terms of winning and losing. I just realized I can't do it tomorrow, but I'm going to call tech support for the... Oh boy, it's hard to get this thing all working. But for the Facebook and YouTube, there should be a way to do it through the inside of this system rather than out through a speaker and back in. Any other question anybody would like to ask, or anything you'd like to, any discovery you've made that you'd like to share, perhaps? Michael. I see you, Michael. Yep. Michael first, Shannon second. Well, I have a personal confession, perhaps, which is that I have not found anything I've heard about quantum physics and quantum mechanics and so on, quantum fields, to be of the least use in my meditation or psychospiritual development. Some people may, but if one wants to really understand what's going on, I think of my teacher Munindra saying, "You want to understand the human mind? Well, sit down, watch it. You have one." And the quantum field stuff, it may all be true, but it's very theoretical, and most of us can't get out of our thinking minds to begin with. And so to try to think our way through to direct realization of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and not self, I don't think it works. Well, it certainly doesn't work for me. That's the only experiment that I have is my own. And so that's not a lot of encouragement, I don't think, but I've read a bit and I've watched a few lectures, and it's kind of like, well, so what? So, however, I do know that that consciousness can develop such that the arising of a thought can be observed, and the passing away of a thought can be observed, and the fact that thoughts are impersonal, not self, can be absolutely clear. And for that matter, Buddhist books, even within this tradition, if one's focus is on the books and the reading, then nothing much ever changes. Because it's only through practice. It's only through the alteration of, only through the awakening up in consciousness that transformation occurs. That's a very strong position, isn't it? I think I'll get in trouble with somebody for that. What do you think, Michael? Mm-hmm. Thank you. Shannon, please. Hmm. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Wow, very beautifully explained. Yeah, and how what a wonderful sign of your maturity that you didn't have to debate her or tell her she was wrong, because it wouldn't work. You've been there, done that, and yeah, a challenge that I have a situation like that in my life too, and the challenge for me is when the other person says, "Well, do you believe it? Are you, and is looking for me to be further supportive or inflammatory of that view. And then when I say, well, actually, no, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, then conflict can arise. But I do my best to tamp that down and just say, well, I don't want to fight about it. My relationship with you is more important, as you've done beautifully with your mom. Your relationship with her is more important than who's right or who's wrong. But it is difficult. I get sent quite a few things to watch, and I can watch a little bit, but then it's like, ugh. And then I get to watch my aversive response, and then I watch it for a little while, and then I discontinue. But great work. Thank you for sharing so clearly. Oh my goodness, it's already noon. Anybody sitting with something you want to share, just that's hot or anxious to be spoken, please? Well, that being the case, for those of you that join me in the mornings, I am actually leaving very soon after this time together here to drive to Manzanita, where I'm going to join a friend and help him install a floor tomorrow. So Jim has agreed to be in charge tomorrow morning. He will be in the teaching seat, and I'll be back on Tuesday. So I thank you very much for being here today. It's very strengthening, isn't it? I find it very important for myself. And Aaron, I think Aaron and Molly. That must be Molly. Molly, would you like to lead us in the song? Let me get up close here. You want to lead us, Molly? Yeah? All right, whenever you're ready, may all beings be happy. All beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Molly. Goodbye, dear friends. May mindfulness enrich and protect us all. Bye, Molly. See you later. Happy mindful eating, Sherry. Hello, Roseanne. Denise is on the farm. Look at that. Wow, look at that. Huh. Goodbye, everybody. Take care. Thanks for tomorrow, Jim. Goodbye, YouTube friends. Sorry about that. I'll try to figure it out.